Oh, hey, babes. Welcome to the number 4 boxing adjacent publication in these here lands. You know that our crocs are always in sport mode. Our jaw is jutted forward and our IQs are about 83 because it's just nice to be that way. And you know what's nice? Helping people help people. Like, rate, subscribe if you're new to this channel. Give us a follow on Instagram, which is always epic. What can we say about X? Use it sometimes, stream on it, it is what it is. But TikTok, hey, that's fun. That's fun for the kids. Yeah, like, rate, subscribe, and hey, drop a comment. It really helps. And the funniest, insulting comments on this video, I will be giving away watch party tickets. If you want to add a little bit of spice and zest and zhuzh, but it has to be funny, right? It can't just be insulting. It can't be saying stuff like, I look like a thumb, I look like Professor X, you've never seen a handsome boy. Is that Statham? No one, like, it is what it is. Scan the QR code. Tickets are available now. The fight itself has sold out and the ticket touts will be rinsing you. Now, what does that mean? That means that you come and watch the fights with us, have some good food, a couple of drinks, wait for it to turn into an after party after the fights are finished, because after the party is the after party. And you know what? We have a live podcast. We have DJ Mad Influence. It is a beaut event on the awkward silence there. Okay, scan the QR code. Tickets available now. Okay. Sadly, Dillian has been injured and he has been withdrawn from the main event, High Impact, April 5th against Joe Joyce, which is sad because we wanted to see that fight because we wanted to see, essentially that's winner stays on, right? Eventually, that's winner stays on, and we wanted to see which of the semi-old guard stays on for a bit because we need an opponent now for Joe Joyce. And that fills me a little bit with fear because Dillian, we know what that was, right? We know that you either get knocked out or you knock out Dillian. We don't know how much Joyce has got left. We don't know how much Dillian's got left. But there does need to be a tangible opponent. Look. I think Moses. I think they get Moses, and I think Moses destroys Joyce. I think that Moses comes out, he's like, he revels in the opportunity to be a headline fighter for the first time. I think he revels at the opportunity to... Uncle Frank cashes out, right? He cashes out on Joe Joyce and basically just feeds a big name opponent. Doesn't really do much for Moses, though. Because if you said Moses versus Joyce, you'd say, well, obviously Moses destroys him, right? But Joyce, we've seen him get laggy, outsmarted by just conversation or staring into space. You know what I mean? We saw all of that. So Moses, for me, number 1 choice, okay? Now, number 2, Joe Parker. Can't tell me that Joe don't want to revenge that loss. Can't tell me that JP doesn't want to have that loss turned over, because he's still going to be campaigning for the Dubois fight, despite the liberties of Dubois apparently going for Usyk. Now, Joe Parker took very, very little damage versus Bakole. He had 2 rounds and knocked Bakole out. Joe is a very live candidate for me. Money would be a thing. Timing would be a thing. Does he want to fight? Does he want to chill? Who knows? But I would imagine if you dangle Joe Joyce and the opportunity to avenge that loss, especially with the form that that Parker has been in for a while, he's going to want to take it. Next one on the list. Bit of an off-piste number. Filip Hirgovic. What's Phil been up to since Dubois beat him? Not that much. I would say that Hirgovic still, how old is he? How old is the geese? 32. He's young. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that long ago that Hirgovic was one of the more avoided men in the heavyweight division. Maybe he's up for a promotional contract with Queensbury. Who knows? Queensbury are the home of heavyweights. They've just taken on Caballel. Hey, I could see Hirgovic coming over for that. Put him in a big fight, bring him back, have him under the roster. Like, he's still very much so a force. And you would imagine that you would imagine that he's just too much for Joyce at this time of his career. Next one, interesting. Efe Adjagba just had his fight taken away from him with Bakoli in May. He's going to be seething. He's going to want a payday. Maybe Turkey says, Frank, give him Joyce. Those two would be the two most robotic fighters that we've seen fight each other for quite some time. You would imagine that that would actually be a decent fight whilst it lasts. And it's a pretty good one, that one. Depending on what state Joyce is in, you could see him Juggernaut in, but you could also see it Jagba in. Right, next one, Soloman. Soloman got punched in the head and lost his title to David Adelaide, and it would be a wild tangent of an opponent to come out for Frank to say, Soloman, you fight Joyce on the main event, and the geezer that just banged you out is like number 3 or 4 on the card. I can't see it happening myself, but he's there because Queensbury have probably put a couple of quid into him and they want him to come back. And what's a good win? Joyce. And you would imagine that for Joyce, he would take that in a heartbeat. I don't think Joyce won't fight. Joyce will fight anyone. Can't see this one happening, but Soloman. Last one. Big Baby Miller. He has 2 defeats on his record, really. One of them is obviously to drug testing, where he tested positive for everything. He tested positive for literally everything. He really did. But he scraps. He sells a fight. If you get him in, it's going to bring up a load of interest. He's going to start chatting nonsense. Does he have contractual issues at the minute? No one knows. Listen, I think he's always up for a payday, and I think he's always up for a scrap. He rolls around about 700 pounds anyway. He is a unit. And let's be honest, Joyce is also about, I don't know how much Joyce is. Joyce is at least 180 kilos, isn't he? His head's got to be 80 kilos on his own. You know what I mean? Miller versus Joyce is a fun one. That's the most fun one on there. That's why I've added this to the list, right? But let's be real. It's going to be Moses, isn't it? It's going to be Moses. I can't wait to hear who they announce. Let me know in the comments what you think. If Moses fights Joyce, that's done in 3 rounds, and maybe even before. Like, rate, subscribe.